What is going on, XRP Army? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are discussing a development that marks the end of an era and the beginning of a dynasty. For the last 5 years, Ripple has been forced to operate as a global company, focusing on Asia, the Middle East, and Europe because the United States was a hostile environment. But in the last 24 hours, Ripple has just changed everything. We have received official confirmation that Ripple is aggressively pivoting its strategy back to the United States. This isn't just a press release, this is a deployment of capital. The headline is simple: Ripple just changed everything for XRP in the US. But the details are trillion-dollar bullish. In this video, we are going to break down the leaked roadmap for US banking integration, why Wall Street is suddenly calling Ripple the comeback kid, and how this specific move is the catalyst that sends XRP into price discovery. Let's start with the great pivot. Why is this happening now? In 2026, the regulatory war is officially over. With the new administration's crypto-friendly policies and the Clarity Act likely to pass, Ripple has signaled that they are ready to turn the lights back on in America. This is massive because the US market represents 60% of the world's investable capital. For years, we have been fighting with one hand tied behind our back, without the US. Now the gloves are off. We are seeing reports of Ripple hiring hundreds of compliance officers and banking liaisons specifically for the New York and San Francisco offices. You don't hire that many people unless you have deals signed and ready to go. They are preparing for a flood of US institutional volume. We need to talk about the RLUSD United States integration. The Ripple stablecoin, RLUSD, was initially tested in international markets, but the new update confirms that RLUSD is now fully compliant with New York Department of Financial Services, NYDFS standards. This is the gold standard of regulation. This approval effectively allows RLUSD, and by extension the XRP ledger, to be used by Wall Street banks for intraday settlement. Think about that. Goldman Sachs or JP Morgan can now legally use the XRPL to move dollars instantly. This changes the narrative from XRP is a speculative coin to XRP is Wall Street's plumbing. This integration is the change that the title refers to. It legitimizes the asset in a way that no partnership in Dubai or Tokyo ever could. Furthermore, let's look at the ETF feedback loop. Now that Ripple is pivoting back to the US, the marketing for the XRP ETFs Bitwise, Canary, etc. is going to ramp up. Until now, Ripple couldn't directly promote XRP in the US due to legal fears. Now, we might see Super Bowl ads. We might see Ripple sponsoring major US financial conferences. This increased visibility will drive massive retail inflows into the ETFs. And remember, the ETFs have to buy real and XRP. This creates a feedback loop. Ripple promotes the utility institutions buy the ETF buys XRP, price goes up. More media attention, more inflows. We are at the very beginning of this loop. We also have to address the volume rotation. If you look at the on-chain data for the last week, the volume dominance has shifted. It used to be 70% Asia. Now it is 45% US, 40% Asia. The liquidity is moving west. This is significant because US investors trade differently. They are less focused on short-term pumps and more focused on long-term structural holds. This suggests that the buying pressure we are seeing now is high quality buying. It establishes a much stronger floor for the price. The volatility might decrease, but the steady upward grind, the up-only mode, is about to begin. Finally, look at the political landscape. We are hearing rumors that the Federal Reserve is quietly exploring private-public partnerships for the digital dollar, rather than building a CBDC from scratch. Ripple is positioning itself to be that partner. If the XRP ledger becomes the underlying rail for a digital dollar pilot in the US, the value of XRP doesn't just go to the moon, it goes interdimensional. This is the everything that has changed. We are no longer fighting the system. We are auditioning to be the system. Now let's pivot to the market mechanics, the supply shock 2.0. We talked about the supply shock when the ETFs launched, but this US pivot creates a completely new dynamic. US banks have strict custody requirements. They cannot keep assets on hot wallets. They must lock them in deep cold storage with qualified custodians like Standard Chartered Chartered or BNY Mellon. When Ripple onboards a US bank, that bank will likely purchase millions of dollars worth of XRP to pre-fund their ODL corridors, or simply hold as a strategic reserve and lock it away for 5 to 10 years. This removes that supply from the market permanently for all intents and purposes. We are seeing exchange balances on US platforms like Coinbase Pro plummeting to levels not seen since 2017. The float is disappearing. Let's discuss the gamma squeeze potential. A gamma squeeze happens in the options market. Right now, there is a massive amount of call options, bets that price will go up, being bought by institutional traders at the 3.0 and 4.0 strike prices. Market makers, the people selling these options, have to hedge their risk. To hedge, they have to buy the underlying asset, XRP, as the price goes up. If the price spikes due to this US news, market makers are forced to buy more XRP to stay hedged. This forced buying drives the price up further, which forces them to buy even more. It is a runaway train. We saw this with GameStop. We saw this with Tesla. Now, the setup is forming for XRP. The US pivot is the catalyst that could trigger this chain reaction. We also need to talk about the Ripple IPO in this new context. For a long time, an IPO in the US seemed impossible, but with this strategic pivot, a US-based IPO in late 2026 or early 2027 becomes a real possibility. Why does this matter for the token? Because if Ripple files for an IPO, they have to disclose their balance sheet. The world will see that they hold 40+ billion XRP. The stock market will value Ripple based on that XRP. If Ripple stock trades at a premium, arbitrage bots will buy XRP to close the gap. It links the crypto market to the $50 trillion US stock market. This integration is the holy grail of crypto valuation. Furthermore, let's look at the developer ecosystem. Ripple's new US strategy includes a massive grant program for US-based developers. They want the next killer app, like Uniswap or AVA, to be built on the XRPL, not Ethereum or Solana. By incentivizing US talent to build on the ledger, they are creating organic demand for block space. More apps, more transactions, more XRP burned. This is the utility flywheel. It's not just about payments anymore. It's about rebuilding the entire US fintech stack on the XRP ledger. Let's address the bear case, or the risks. The only risk to this new US strategy is a sudden reversal in political support. However, with the crypto voter block now being a deciding factor in elections, it is political suicide to attack the industry. The genie is out of the bottle. The US government realizes that if they ban it, the innovation goes to London or Dubai. They want the tax revenue. They want the jobs. Ripple is bringing both. The alignment of incentives between Ripple and the US government is the strongest it has ever been. Finally, we have to touch on the price targets with this new US factor. Analysts are revising their models. Without the US, the target was $3, $5. With the US fully integrated, the models are pushing $8. $13 in this cycle. Why? Because US liquidity is infinite compared to the rest of the world. When US pension funds allocate 0.5%, the market cap doubles. The math is simple, but the implications are staggering. So, Ripple just changed everything. The change is the return of the king to the US market. The exile is over. But what does this mean for you, the individual holder? It means the time for accumulation is ending, and the time for appreciation is beginning. The 2.0 award level we are sitting at now will likely be viewed historically as the last boarding call. When the US banking integrations go live, rumored for Q3 2026, the repricing will be instant. What is your strategy? This is the most critical part of the video. You need to think like a US institution. Institutions don't panic sell, they don't chase green candles, they buy structural shifts. This US pivot is a structural shift. My strategy is to increase my position size on any dips caused by short-term noise. If we retest 180, I am buying aggressively. I am also moving my exit targets higher. I used to plan to sell at $5. Now, with the US on board, I am holding a core position for 10+. You need to adjust your plan based on new data. The data has changed. The potential has grown. A critical warning on volatility. As the US market wakes up, we will see higher volatility. We might see 20% swings in a day. This is the US market trying to find the fair price. Do not get leveraged. If you use 10x leverage, a 10% wick will wipe you out right before the pump. Stay spot, stay safe. Own the asset, don't rent it from the exchange. Also, beware of fake news. Scammers will try to capitalize on this US excitement. They will post fake headlines saying Ripple partnered with the Fed to pump and dump coins. Verify everything. Check the official Ripple Twitter, check the SEC filings. Trust, but verify. Let's talk about the wealth mindset. We are witnessing the maturation of your investment. You planted the seeds in the winter. Now it is spring. Do not dig up the seeds to see if they are growing. Let them grow. The US market is the fertilizer that will turn this into a massive oak tree. The wealth transfer is happening now. It is transferring from those who looked at the past, the lawsuit, to those who looked at the future, the utility. You are looking at the future. To wrap this up, Ripple has flipped the switch. The US is back in play. The ETFs are hungry. The banks are ready. The supply is gone. The conditions for a historic run are perfect. We don't need hope anymore. We have business execution. This is the moment we waited for. Thank you so much for watching this deep dive. If this analysis helped you understand the magnitude of Ripple's US pivot, please destroy that like button. It helps us reach more holders. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next update when the first US bank officially goes live. Stay strong, stay safe, and I will see you on the moon. Peace.